I would rather buy the native token of Cosmos called Atom over Bitcoin, and here are the reasons why, even though this isn't financial advice. I think it's ultimately going to come down to the fact that Atom just hypothetically has a lot better upside when compared to Bitcoin, at least theoretically, because if let's say Atom were to go to the price of $200, which is my price target, by the way, for it during this bull run, that right there would be around a 27x from here. And it's not even all that ridiculous anyways if it were to go to, again, that price, because at the price of $200, considering current circulating supply, market cap would be around $78 billion. Dogecoin, keep in mind, reached over 80 billion. BNB reached over 100 billion at one point. And I think that right there is especially shocking when you consider how the BNB chain is a Cosmos-based blockchain. I'm going to get a little bit into the specifics of this later on in the video, but again, if something like Dogecoin reach over 80 billion, if BNB can reach over 100 billion, why can't Atom, hypothetically, at least go to around 78 billion? But even besides that, can Bitcoin do around a 27x from here, or more specifically, let's say a 27x exactly? I don't think so. I don't think it can even do over a 10x from where it is as of right now. I'm not saying decades later or in the next 10 years, whatever. I'm just saying in the next 6 months to a year, I don't think Bitcoin could do that. Like it could maybe do like a 2x or 2.5x or maybe like a 3x as a ultimately most bullish case scenario. However, I highly doubt that Bitcoin could, let's say, reach like $1 million. But even besides that, again, this is just during this bull run. But here's the thing. If Bitcoin were to do a 27x from here, the price would be around $2.8 million. So yeah, that's totally another question again, and during this bull run, not to mention the market cap would be approximately $56 trillion considering current circulating supply. Yeah, I just don't see that. Now, again, Bitcoin is amazing in its own right, but I'm in the world of cryptocurrencies to look for hypothetical upside. And I'm not necessarily looking for a microcap because that feels extremely risky. But when it comes to something like Atom, it doesn't feel that risky. Of course, there's still going to be risks, but it's a good enough sized project to the point that the community is established, has amazing exchange listings. The team is well vetted when it comes to Cosmos. So it's not this super risky microcap, but then at the same time, I'm not looking for a dinosaur. I'm not going to look for like a Bitcoin, Ethereum, if that makes sense. So that is why I think it's just a much better pick for me. I'm not necessarily saying that Bitcoin is bad or anything like that, but again, hypothetical upside, that's what I'm looking for in this case. More mitigated again in terms of the risk. So I'm not looking for a microcap, but again, when it comes to the category in terms of what I'm looking for, a medium-sized project with hypothetical good potential in terms of the upside, I think Atom does win. Now, is Cosmos a bad project fundamentally? No, because the Cosmos blockchain utilizes a proof-of-stake consensus algorithm called Tendermint. And Tendermint, by the way, makes it possible for Cosmos to process up to 10,000 transactions per second. So that's insane. However, here's the thing. If you take a look at it, Tendermint, they actually have a toolkit called the Cosmos SDK. Now, why is this so special? It's because this SDK, aka Software Development Kit, allows something called application-specific blockchains to be built. Now, you may be wondering, okay, what are some of these application-specific blockchains that have already been built, so to speak, right? Take a look at, for instance, BNB Chain, like I mentioned earlier in the video. Not to mention, you take a look at Luna Classic. Now, I get it. Luna Classic is off into the abyss. That's totally understandable, but at one point, it was great. And even as of right now, it still has a good following for whatever reason. But I think that, if anything, just showcases the use case potential of this. But even besides that, you also take a look at Kava, another Cosmos-based blockchain. That's pretty massive. I'm bullish on that. Also, take a look at Kronos. And you may be thinking, okay, Kronos is some random nonsense. That's not true. I'm talking about Crypto.com's Kronos. Crypto.com, as we all know, is a massive exchange. So the way you take a look at it is that when it comes to these Cosmos-based blockchains, there are many that are already very successful. And again, these are just some of the highlights. There's a bunch of Cosmos-based blockchains. There's over 50, so it's not bad by any means, in my opinion. Now, you may be thinking, okay, what is the glue, so to speak, that connects all these Cosmos-based blockchains together? It's something called IBC. Now, this stands for Inter-Blockchain Communication Protocol, but let's face it, no one's ever really going to say that, but I'm going to say it because, of course, I'm talking about, Cosmos in this video, but just for short, it's IBC. But even besides that, any blockchain out there that does have IBC enabled can easily transfer assets to and from any other blockchain that does have IBC enabled. So that really does create a lot of cross-chain capabilities, in my opinion, in terms of having a very amazing cross-chain experience. I think it's pretty much unrivaled in this crypto space. So When people think about these Cosmos-based blockchains being bad or anything like that, well, I disagree. And again, when I consider how the BNB chain is a Cosmos-based blockchain, it's kind of insane seeing how, again, BNB at one point reached over 100 billion, and then Atom, the native token of Cosmos, going to the price of $200, would only have a market cap at that point of around $78 billion. So when you think about that, if quite essentially the quote-unquote Batman, which I view Cosmos as, let's say it's like the Batman again, how is Robin able to go to over $100 billion in market cap, but then Batman can't hypothetically at least go to around 78 billion? This is just my mentality. And keep in mind, BNB reached this back in 2021, a time with far less institutional investors, far less enterprise adoption. Back then, also, there wasn't really that much content in terms of crypto education, and also not to mention as well, back then, during the peak of that bull run, there was roughly only around 300 million crypto owners. Now there's over 600 million, according to Crypto.com research. So that's practically double. So I think that this time around, the bull run could be a lot more fantastic. You take a look at all the bullish factors. I think this run could be very amazing, but it's just a waiting game at this point. And I totally understand that. Again, I'm not saying that Bitcoin is not something that is needed, because of course, if Bitcoin does well, hypothetically, a bunch of other altcoins could do well too. However, in my opinion, why would I choose Bitcoin if instead I can choose something else that could do hypothetically amazing as a result of Bitcoin doing good, if that makes sense, right? Because if Bitcoin does good, hypothetically, Atom could do very amazing. So why not choose that? That's just my mentality though. And how much longer do we have to wait? Some people may be thinking, now, there's no exact way to tell. Like, no one has a magic crystal ball, at least in my opinion, or at least that I've seen. But we can take a look back in history, which I have. And I know that typically altcoins, as a worst case scenario, they peak around 18 months after a Bitcoin halving event. Now, the last Bitcoin halving event happened back in April of 2024, of course. So if you consider 18 months from then, that's around October this year. Now, granted, may seem like quite a while to some people because we are, after all, still in January, but I don't think it's that bad anyways. I mean, if people have been waiting ever since 2021, this is kind of like peanuts in the grand scheme of things. At least that's the way I view it. So in the meantime, I'm going to be dollar cost averaging. Anytime I acquire income, hold, and I just wait. And again, I'm not guaranteeing that October is going to be the time when Atom peaks. It's just more of a benchmark. History isn't always going to repeat itself. However, in some cases, it does tend to rhyme. So again, this is just a good benchmark. It could happen earlier, which would be awesome, of course. Or it could happen a little bit later, in which case I'll still be acquiring more anyways. So either situation happens early, fine. Happens a little bit later, sure. You may have to wait, testing the patience, but at least can accumulate more. So I don't think it's that bad either way. But that's just my mentality. And again, if someone came up to me and said, hey, you can only put all your eggs into one basket for this bull run, Atom or Bitcoin, hands down, it's going to be Atom. I think Cosmos is absolutely fantastic. Use case is A+. It's never going to beat Bitcoin. I totally understand that, but it doesn't need to. I mean, again, I'm just looking for a hypothetically good upside. And at this point, I think Atom is just much better than Bitcoin, in my opinion, at least. And make sure to subscribe if you gain value from this video. I greatly appreciate it. It's only the captain, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.